What's up, guys? Today we're going to design a worship patch from scratch for the song Battle Belongs by Phil Wickham. Using the sounds in Sunday keys and the patch builder workflow, I'm going to attempt to capture the original intent and spirit of all of the worship keys parts on this great song, and I'm only going to give myself 5 minutes to do it. I'm using the main stage version of Sunday keys for this challenge, but all these sounds are also available in the Ableton Live format, so you can follow right along. The only preparation I've done is listening to the song a bunch of times, listening to the keys parts, and I've set the tempo of the concert to match the tempo of the song, 81 BPM. I'm gonna build this patch in the original key of D flat. Without anything else to say, let's go ahead and start the timer for 5 minutes and see what I can come up with. Okay, so I'm gonna use 5 sounds. That's what I have available to me in Sunday keys. Let's put a piano sound in section 1. I'm gonna go with All Reliable, the Sunday Grand. I'm gonna pull in the Balanced Grand patch. This has a nice amount of compression, but it's not smashed to the point where the piano isn't still expressive. The verses of this song, the piano is pretty subtle and subdued, and I wanna make sure that I can sort of capture that, so. And then there's those little riffs later on that I can use the octave modifier for. I think that's a good piano choice. I'm gonna go ahead and add another patch. I'm gonna go to section 2. Let's find a pad sound here. I know I need something that can get pretty bright dynamically as the song builds, but it also needs to get really subtle and kind of start off underneath everything. Maybe a string pad. This has been one of my favorite patches in Sunday keys recently, the Silky Velo strings. Going to go with that in section 2. Next up, we're going to go to section 3. Now we're starting to get into spaces where I have to choose what kind of sounds are most important for me to prioritize. I think it's really important that we have an organ sound in here because there's that really cool organ that comes in about midway through the song. I really want to nail that texture. Bring up the rotor here. Key click. Since I made some modifications, I'm going to save so that that sound will remember those settings. Next up, I know that there's some ARP stuff going on in the background of this song. I also know there's a bunch of extra ambience. I'm going to put a synth bass probably in the last section. So to me, it's a choice between maybe an ARP, an additional sort of ambient sound, maybe even a lead sound like a dulcimer. Let's see what we can find here looking at an ARP first. So I'm gonna go through here. This is one of the newer sounds there. So the original has a bunch of monophonic or melodic arpeggiated stuff going on. There's some arpeggiated strings that I kind of hear later on in the song. I'm not gonna be able to pull all of that off without doing a bunch of MIDI sequencing, and that's not the point of this challenge. So I'm actually going to stick with this ARP sound. I do realize here that I have it in the wrong section, so I'm going to go grab it in section 4 instead. And then lastly, we're going to grab a synth bass of some sort, I think. Let's try this one. I love that bass sound. It might be a little bit too nasally. Same, I think I actually want something that's just sub, so let's go back to the sub bass. It's just adding low energy, there's not really anything on top. I've got 1.5 minutes left, I think that's the way to go, so let's bring this all together. New patch from selected patches. Okay, so now I'm gonna change the icon because I just can't stand it if the icon's not changed. Okay, so here's our patch. I'm gonna start messing with some levels. You know, we want the sub bass to come down. Need to clean the pot on the nano control too here. Sub bass, we only wanted about half volume, and I'm going to bring that ARP and that organ all the way out to start. Tone up here, and I'm going to put a little bit of delay on the grand piano, maybe a dotted eighth delay. 50 seconds. Okay, it sounded really nice, and then I'm going to bring in that organ later on. Wash that out with some reverb. Let that rotor chill about halfway there. And then this arp. Really like the way that that's feeling. It's covering a lot of space. It's nice and spread out and wide. There's not a lot of overlap in the sound. So I think that's it. I'm not even going to mess with the layer ranges. I'm going to just call it good here because these sounds blend really, really well together. Time's up. Okay, so this is what I came up with in 5 minutes. I'm going to name it Battle Belongs. And I'll go ahead and check the tempo here to 81. Okay, so let me show you how I would maybe use this in a live performance to cover the parts. So I would start with just the grand piano and the string pad. If I wanted that lead riff that's doubled with the electric to pop out, I'd maybe turn on the octave for the piano. And then just hang out right here. We get to that first chorus, I'd probably take the piano out and bring in this organ sound right here. I might turn on the shimmer modifier for that moment as well. You can play with that rotor speed to dial that in, bring up the mod wheel to open up those drawbars. And then I'd probably leave that organ in, bring the piano back for that little interlude between chorus 1 and verse 2. And I'd bring that guy back down, organ down, probably bring this arp in a little bit. So then during verse 2, we've got this really cool little piano riff. I'm going to turn the octave modifier on so I can stay in the mid-range but have those piano notes sort of stand out on top. Then as we build up to that second chorus, because there's a good bit of lift during that second verse, I would just creep up the arp volume and the organ volume a little bit and let the mod wheel sort of lift everything up as well. I'm going to keep the octave effect on the grand piano right now so that I can stay in the mid-range for all the other instruments, because later on when we get to that final chorus, I'll turn the octave off and actually take my right hand up. That's going to lift all the other sounds up as well. So this sort of gives me that mid-level chorus feel. So we're just going to let that kind of fade and hang for the bridge. So here the pad is really doing most of the work. The piano's just hitting some of those changes. And we can start to fade that organ back in. Start to creep that mod wheel up as we build. And then eventually bringing that arp back in as well. And then we get to this final chorus. Like I said, I'm going to turn the octave modifier off on the piano and then actually move my right hand up an octave. That lifts every other synth part underneath up an octave as well. And that piano's just poking out on top, leaving a bunch of space in the middle, assuming like the guitars are going to be really digging in for the end there. Going to be a lot going on with the drums and the vocals, so you take that right hand up a little bit and it just fills out this space. It adds energy on top and leaves space in the mid-range for everybody else. So here's that sort of last chorus. Everything fade out to finish. I really like how this turned out. Feels pretty playable to me. One thing I'd maybe consider doing is turning on easy chord here in D flat for the organ sound. So let me turn up the organ and solo it so you can hear what that would sound like. And I'm able to trigger chords with just the left hand. That would let me have a little more freedom in the right hand without worrying about those lead parts becoming muddy with the organ trying to follow along with them. So that's maybe something that we could sort of tweak or optimize from a performance standpoint. Now I want to go to our song-specific patch for Battle Belongs and just sort of compare, not the sounds, because I'm not trying to exactly replicate all the keys parts, which is always our goal with song-specific patches. But when you're designing something in Patch Builder, I'm just trying to capture the spirit of the song. So this is the song patch, just so you have some context for the differences. So here's the final chorus. There's more nuance here, there's more going on, it's a little bit more dense, the mix is more complex, and that's a really great thing. That's why song-specific patches are so awesome. But I think it's great to be able to capture some of the same sonic space with fewer layers in Patch Builder. So this is, again, the big part of the song with the Patch Builder patch. Find the song-specific patch is simpler for you, it's more dialed in. You might find that building the patch in Patch Builder gives you the flexibility that you're looking for. So that wraps up this 5-minute challenge. If you have Sunday keys, you can go in and replicate this patch exactly, just follow along with what I just did and use Patch Builder to dial in the sound for yourself. Or I would encourage you to set a timer for yourself, give yourself 5 or 10 minutes and see what comes up for you, designing your own patch for this song in a limited amount of time. I think you'll enjoy the process, you'll enjoy that little bit of pressure, it will help you make decisions quickly, which is a huge part of being creative, not overthinking things, not over-filtering the choices that you make. If you liked this video, leave a comment and let us know what song you'd like to see me tackle in the next 5-minute challenge. We've done a few of these recently and I really enjoy seeing what comes up in a short period of time. If you're a worship leader or a worship keys player, please like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our next video. We appreciate your support and we love that we get to do videos like this one. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.